It seems like every day another major corporation, government agency, political campaign, or celebrity gets hacked, their private information stolen and made public, held for ransom, or otherwise misused. And the massive amounts of sensitive data compiled by businesses and other organizations, names, social security numbers, medical history, credit card numbers, trade secrets, make tempting targets. Workplace data breaches, where supposedly secure non-public personal information, or NPPI, is disclosed to people who shouldn't have it, cost businesses millions of dollars a year and can put those who have had their information stolen at serious risk. Organizations that have suffered data breaches may lose significant revenue or even go out of business. They could be subject to government fines and penalties, get sued, or lose the trust of their customers, patients, or constituents. Their reputations may be irreparably harmed. While data breaches may be the work of sophisticated cybercriminals and hackers accessing information for dishonest purposes, some, in fact most, data breaches are accidental and the result of human error or the lack of adequate security protocols. In fact, a simple mistake by one person can cause a major breach with far-reaching consequences. That's the bad news. The good news is that while we can't guarantee that our organization will never experience a data breach, we can take some simple, common-sense cybersecurity steps that will go a long way to keeping us safe from such an event and greatly reduce our risk. Cybersecurity is the prevention of unauthorized access to and use of computer systems and the prevention of the release of private information on our electronic devices to unauthorized users. Cybersecurity has become a necessity for anyone who uses a computer, cell phone, or other internet-connected device. It's sometimes said that employees are the weak link in an organization's cybersecurity because the technology they're required to use is complicated and constantly evolving, and their use of it is inconsistent and subject to human error. But when provided with some basic knowledge and a few tips for implementing security measures, employees are actually the best defense against a data breach. And while businesses often spend huge sums of money to prevent unwanted disclosures of data, the most important steps that employees can take are relatively simple and free. First of all, it's important to recognize that the electronic devices provided by an organization for employees to perform their jobs belong to the organization. And while they may or may not be available for occasional personal use, their use is always subject to organization guidelines, the most obvious being that they may never be used for illegal or unethical activities. Failure to use such devices appropriately may result in disciplinary action. These days, many employees use their personal devices for day-to-day work activities. It's been estimated that 86% of those who do use their own phones, tablets, or computers for work check their work email, and 67% access shared company documents on their devices. The common sense tips that you're going to learn here will help to prevent both business and personal data breaches anywhere you're connected to the internet, from either a work or personal device. As citizens in an increasingly interconnected world, we all face more and more threats to our privacy, and employees appreciate the fact that they can apply their basic knowledge of cybersecurity issues in a work context to protect their personal information as well. We're going to focus on some key overlapping areas to safeguard data. Communications, email, texts, and instant messaging. Social engineering, phishing, smishing, and vishing. Password management. Wi-Fi, USB drives, and website use. Let's start with basic electronic communications: email, texts, and instant messaging, or IM. Email is still the way in for most hackers, but as texting and the use of IM have become more commonplace, their vulnerabilities have come to be exploited too, and the same precautions must be taken for all three forms of communication. We'll focus on email, the mainstay of workplace communications. Employees tend to assume that most of the everyday communications they receive and send through email are safe and private. But email, which is where most cyber attacks start, is not secure against hackers, spying, and other risks unless it's encrypted. Encryption disguises an email that you send so that it can't be intercepted by someone who shouldn't see it. Sending an unencrypted email is like mailing a postcard that anyone can read, while sending an encrypted email is like using a security envelope to mail a check. Companies are required by federal and state law to protect proprietary and personal information, including medical, financial, educational, and employment data. But email through personal devices is often unencrypted. Never send confidential information over unencrypted email. There are different methods of encryption, and various easy-to-use encryption programs are available. Please contact the IT security team to discuss your options. It's also vital to be able to recognize potentially problematic emails and respond appropriately when you receive one. Hackers and cybercriminals don't have to be technological geniuses to break into an organization's network. They can and do just send an email with an attachment or a link that could cause harm for you or your organization if you click on it. In other words, they just have to trick you. While a typical hacker might look for a software vulnerability, someone trying to trick an employee into divulging his or her login credentials might do something like send an email in which he poses as a coworker looking for help. The technique of using people's natural tendencies or emotions to manipulate them is known as social engineering. Social engineers might, for example, use a subject line that creates a sense of urgency, or such bait as an offer too tempting to refuse, in order to entice someone to click on a dangerous link. Opening a fraudulent link or attachment can destroy your data, encrypt your data, and hold it for ransom so that you can't access it until you pay up or steal your information. Never open an attachment or link unless you're absolutely positive it's safe. But determining the safety of an email isn't always easy. A counterfeit or spoof email may look like it's from a legitimate source, carefully mimicking the visual style and logo of the actual organization. So what can we do to protect ourselves? When checking your email, regardless of the type of device, laptop, tablet, mobile phone, or others, keep your guard up. Be suspicious of any communication from someone who's never contacted you before, even if their name is familiar to you, like someone high up in your organization asking you to open an attachment, or a message from someone you do know personally, but that seems out of character with, say, a link to a humorous video from someone unlikely to send one. Be suspicious of any emails to answer a question you never asked. For example, if someone emails an attachment saying, "Here's the information you requested," when you didn't request any information, do not open the attachment. It's likely a trick to introduce malicious software called malware into your system. If you receive a link to an unfamiliar website or a variation on a familiar one, beware. It's probably malicious, and you should not click on it. As a rule of thumb, don't open files in an email that end in .exe or .cmd, because they can immediately cause harm to your computer system. But keep in mind that files like Word, Excel, and PDF documents can also be used to download viruses and other malicious code into your system. Use caution. Don't send such important personal information as your password, social security number, or bank account number in answer to an email request from a bank or business entity, even one you have a relationship with. Such requests, known as phishing, are most certainly fraudulent. If you want to visit a web address in the email, don't click on a link to it. For corporate email, please review the link with the IT security team. For personal use, copy and paste the address directly into your browser. Sometimes a spoof email will contain a phone number and direct the recipient to call it, rather than click on a link. The call will be answered by an automated system that requests personal or financial information. The term for this type of scam is vishing. When it comes to electronic communication, be skeptical to be safe. Report suspicious emails at work to the IT security team. When in doubt, you can always call the sender of an email to verify whether he or she did actually send it. If it turns out the email is a fraud, the person or entity being impersonated will appreciate the heads up and the opportunity to warn potential targets to delete the fake email and to avoid opening any links or attachments it contains. While phishing is the term for requesting certain proprietary information in an email, smishing is the term for getting someone to click on a link in a cell phone text message that allows installation of malware on the phone or other mobile device. Instant messaging, or IM, across a corporate network has become a popular form of workplace communication. But as email security has grown, some hackers have started to focus on IM networks. IM communication can be vulnerable to eavesdropping and can transmit viruses and spam as well. Exercise the same caution with IM as with other forms of electronic communication, such as verifying that a received file did actually come from the purported sender before you open it. Password protect your computers, phones, laptops, and other devices so that, should they be stolen, the information they contain won't be accessible to the thief. Speaking of passwords, we've all heard by now that they should be long, at least 16 characters, complicated, and changed frequently for security reasons. This makes many people throw up their hands in frustration and just continue to use short, easy-to-remember passwords or the same password for everything. They may even write their passwords down so they won't forget them, or type them into a document stored on the devices they're meant to protect, making their secret passwords vulnerable to discovery. Believe it or not, some people still use the word password as their password. But there are better ways to manage your passwords. Use a so-called password manager, a program that allows you to create and remember just one master password that generates, stores, and retrieves multiple complex passwords for you. Password managers are easy to use, and many are available online for free. Please talk to a member of the IT security team about password manager options if you are interested. To enhance your security, when offered the option, use two-factor authentication, such as answering a secret question that a hacker couldn't easily find the answer to, like, "What was the name of your first pet?" in addition to providing a password. Cybercriminals use personal information gleaned from sources like social media to guess people's passwords. So set up your social media accounts so that they're only accessible to people you know and trust, and don't use obvious passwords. Hackers also use programs that can try billions of possible password combinations in a matter of seconds. So use long passwords that are complex, containing upper and lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols, and change them up at least quarterly. It's very important to use unique passwords rather than the same password again and again. Password reuse significantly increases your vulnerability. And don't forget to change any default password that comes with your home computer, modem, or router to one that's complex, secure, and private. Hackers actually purchase lists of manufacturers' default passwords in order to infiltrate computer systems. Create a guest network at home so that you can maintain your privacy and security while allowing visiting friends and family to use your secure Wi-Fi. At work, never trust a request to reveal a password, even if it looks like it comes from the IT security team or your boss, without verifying it. It may not be legit. In public places, it's always important to be aware of others in close proximity and to make sure they don't overhear a conversation involving NPPI or are able to see any private information displayed on your device. An important component of cybersecurity in public places is Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi, the convenient technology that allows us to wirelessly connect to the internet, is something most of us take for granted. When we use it at home or in places with good security settings, we're using a closed and secure network that's safe to use. But Wi-Fi networks in public places the world over, places like coffee shops, airports, public parks, tourist attractions, hotels, even on airplanes and city buses, are usually unencrypted and popular targets for hackers. Often employees will check their email, bank account, or social media at a public Wi-Fi hotspot, or use the Wi-Fi at a trade show or airport, only to have their passwords and data stolen, their email accessed, the websites they visited revealed, and malware inserted on their device. Then they inadvertently spread that malicious software to others in their organization. If you don't need a password to access a wireless internet connection, don't connect. It's not safe for either personal or business use. Does that mean we can never take advantage of public Wi-Fi? No, don't despair. There is a safe way to connect by using a VPN service. A VPN, Virtual Private Network Service, will hide your location and make your data inaccessible to hackers while you access Wi-Fi in public places. Various VPN services are available online for a fee. While some VPN services are free, these actually make money by collecting and selling their users' data. When you route your traffic through a free VPN app on your device, the VPN can easily collect your online activity and sell it to third parties and advertisers. Do not use free VPNs. USB drives, otherwise known as thumb drives, flash drives, jump drives, or memory sticks, are small, portable, and cheap devices that can conveniently transfer information. But these same attributes make them a popular means for hackers to steal data or harm computer systems. If you receive a USB drive from an unknown source, don't plug it into your system. Do, however, report it to the IT security team. Even if the drive seems to come from a trustworthy source, don't plug it into your device until you verify its authenticity. Cybercriminals have even been known to visit a busy workplace and surreptitiously insert a malicious USB drive into a computer themselves. So lock your computer when you leave it unattended at work and set it to lock automatically when inactive for a period of time. This will reduce the likelihood of a hacker being able to infiltrate your system with a USB drive when your back is turned. And never leave your devices unattended in a public place. Devices should be kept in the hotel safe when you travel. Cybercriminals sometimes leave a malicious USB drive in a public place, hoping that someone will be curious to see what's on it and insert it into their device. In fact, it was a booby-trapped USB drive left lying around in the hopes that someone would pick it up and plug it in that damaged Iran's nuclear program with the Stuxnet virus in 2010. Never insert an unknown USB drive into your computer. Often a website will ask you for personal information. Make sure the site is encrypted by checking the site's URL or address before inputting things like your credit card number. A URL that begins with HTTPS means your connection to the website is encrypted and that the site is therefore much safer to use than one whose URL begins with HTTP. No S after HTTP means no encryption. Only use file-sharing websites for work that have been authorized by your organization, and be skeptical of games and software offered online for free download. They may well introduce malicious software into your system. Just one mistake can cause a data breach that does irreparable harm to an organization or an individual. But we've seen how a little caution and common sense can go a long way to keeping our private information private at work, at home, and in public places. Use organization guidelines when disposing of electronic data. If you see something at work that seems suspicious, follow organization IT security policy and notify management or your IT security team. Together, we all can and should take responsibility for cybersecurity. Let's work together to keep our information safe and secure.